Welcome back to our special seminar series. In this next video clip, you're going to be watching a green group present their poster, or we think they're going to present their poster, and in that, their whole temperament, it comes out even in the presentation of their poster. So enjoy the experience.
Okay, welcome back. So as we get to start this presentations now, this is your time on your page to start capturing some of the things. You might have blues or greens or golds or oranges in your life that now you can start suddenly going, oh, right? The little light bulb starts going off as to why we've had conflicts or why we've had miscommunications. So this is your opportunity to learn, also to present. So we're going to start with the green first, the green group, knowing that no one's a green, but Jackson is, so he'll own it. Just put it up very top. There you go. Perfect. Okay.
Do you need me for anything?
So I will relieve you of this to make a point. So I tell you, I didn't script this. This happens every single time. So when I say come up and present your poster, what does that sound like to you?
Read it.
Right? When I say golds, come up and present your poster, we're going to see what that means here in a minute. Oranges, green is the only group that would come up, put their poster up, and turn around and go sit down. Because you told me to present the poster, I did. If you have any questions, ask me. Right? Because it would be so redundant. Here's something to write down. I'm telling you, this is the key word to understand about the green temperament. What drives them crazy is this idea of redundancy. Right? We're in this room. We're all adults. Most of us have graduated from high school, whatever it is. There's words on a poster. If you can't read these words, I sure don't need to read them to you. Right? So, but that's them. That's theirs. So let me just share. I will go ahead and relieve you of that and just share some of the key things that are up here. Things that you need to know about the green. This is number one for them, right? Knowledge. They're constant learners. They're constantly going out and they're researching and they're learning and they're wanting to understand how things work, right? And so as they go through that, that's a big deal. You can see all this technology and science. Yep, I mean, they end up as engineers. They end up as doctors. They're in the science world. A lot of pilots end up being from the green temperament because the challenge of this whole deal, you know, space travel, big deal. Big problem solvers. They see things way farther out. I mean, it's like, I was reading an article. This is on a plane a couple years ago, and I'm reading this article that's talking about how we've sent a spaceship out into space that 200 and some odd years from now is going to send us back information that we could use on. I'm like, I don't even know what I'm having for lunch today. Right? Who cares what they do? Right? They really, and so that's kind of where they bring it into. One word, if I was to give one word that could sum this up, and I'm going to give you one for each. Gold, you get 2 words, but the one word that sums this group up right here is competence. So write that in your book. If you didn't take anything else away, is greens are about competence. And it's about their personal competence. They like to work around and like to be around people that are competent, but that will not have any impact on whether they are competent or not. Does that make sense? If I happen to be working with you and I don't believe that you're competent, I just won't work with you anymore. I mean, that's the cold hard facts of it, right? And in some cases, we'll call that a low mature behavior, and you'll see we talk about that a little bit later. But the reality is that they strive for perfection. Whatever they go after it like nobody's business. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the absolute best you could be, they hold themselves to a 15, right? So they're going through life on that 1 to 10 scale, and they're pushing themselves for the 11, 12, 13, 14. That's the good news. Bad news is that as they interact with the rest of us humans out there in the world that are on the 1 to 10 scale, I mean, honestly, and I've said this to Greens. Again, not anybody sitting in this room, so now this is where nobody be offended. I've talked to a lot of folks that sit at that green table, and I said, so, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best you can be, you shoot for a 15, right? Yeah. So what is a 10 for you? For them, it's a failure, right? It's this big, if I had to settle for a 10 as a green, I've blown it somewhere, right? Because that's just the way their brains work. So they could come across because, and this is where we'll talk about in the second, this idea of maturity, is that if I keep that mindset, and I'm going through life as that mindset, then how am I looking at the other people sitting in this room? Right? I'm superior than them, I'm smarter than them, I'm more competent than them. And so they end up becoming very isolated, right? If they don't figure out this idea of called humanity. But competence is their greatest strength, but it could also be their greatest weakness, right? I want these folks in the world, and I want them to strive for 15s, absolutely. What I don't want is for them to hold me accountable to try to be a 15 when all I can be is a 10. And for me, I mean, honestly, I went through my Air Force career. You had to test, do a lot of tests, and they're 70%, right? I just go and take the test, 70%, get out of there. Because that's just, so there's a lot of mentality. So what's 70? What's a 7 for these folks? Not just a loser, but a major loser, right? So that's where they are. And they, for example, in this class today, if I was to say something that was incorrect or wasn't quite on spot on, or they weren't sure, they make a judgment almost really quickly. First off, is Dave competent or not? Because if Dave's competent, then probably on one of the breaks, I'm going to get my phone out, I'm going to look up, and then then they're going to come and talk to me. Say, you said earlier those statistics, and I had this happen in the class. Guy came up and says, those statistics you gave, they're off just a little bit. The blues are really this, and the green. I'm like, oh, well, great, right? I mean, so that's why I told you the range earlier. That way I don't get stuck being, absolutes. But if I'm deemed not competent, then it's just, why even go bother talking to the human, right? Right? So that's the great, and what on here, we got this, it almost didn't make it on the chart, right? We had a person sneak in towards the, this, and when he said, oh, family, and then Jackson's kind of like, right? But other than that, for example, what on this chart has to do with other people?
Maybe questions, because you've got to use other resources in yourself to answer the questions.
That could be.
We were talking like knowledge also, because you got to listen to other people to gain knowledge.
Right. But that's to help you gain knowledge, help you be more competent, right? Or we have to listen to their.
We're stretching here.
Yeah.
We're reaching.
Yeah, it's okay. They are not human.
We prefer dogs.
Right? And when I say that is, and we'll see this play out, what's interesting for this group, and then we'll move to the next group, is that they have relationships. I mean, this kid's going to be my son-in-law pretty soon, so he is in a relationship, but it is by choice, not by need. Right? It is by choice. The cool thing about that is that if I understand the concept of being competent, all my decisions are absolutely competent, trying to be perfect, that when I finally make a choice to marry someone, because it's not a light decision for them, when I make that choice, it is the perfect choice for me. Let me hear it. Oh. And that's reality. It doesn't mean it'll last. They still have to figure this thing out, right? But at least they're starting off in the right place. And they have me. So what can I say? All right, so that's this great group here, and they're all over. They've infiltrated our whole world. So we love this group, or we admire this group. Love probably is not the right word. I love this book. I want to share it with you. Click below, get your book today. Free book.